What were you the god of again?
Welcome back, Dice Rollers and Role Players. Ryan with God of Crits, here to continue our deep dives into what I have done so far into Kingdom's Reign. And we're going to continue right on with Espionage. Espionage, I'm going to also lump together Espionage, Counterintelligence, and Counterinsurgency all in one, because they all kind of coalesce into one bigger theme of this Kingdom's Reign, and the theme is secrecy. Secrecy is going to be huge amongst your kingdoms. I think that it is going to be highly important if you're a player to make sure, especially if you're doing things that shouldn't be done, to keep your cards close to your chest and also try to find out what cards other kingdoms are holding. And that's going to be done through espionage. So espionage, you're going to have a couple of abilities that you can use with KP. And one of those abilities is going to be called a recon. Recon is going to be a relatively low KP. It's probably going to be a set number, so it's not going to add over turns or anything, and it's not an adjustable KP. It's a set number, and you can find out, you can pretty much send a spy into another kingdom, and you can try to find things out about them. You can try to find out what they're focusing on is their main victory condition, maybe what type of government they're running, and stuff like that. What kind of relics they have, what god they follow, stuff like that, especially if you aren't friendly with this kingdom. This could definitely give you an edge in both negotiation and combat and war, potentially. However, when you're sending spies into another kingdom, there's going to be a downside, which we're going to talk about in counterintelligence. But espionage, on this recon check, you are going to make a D20 roll, and you're going to add your espionage modifier. The DC that you were trying to break is going to be set by the other kingdom, which we'll talk about in a minute. However, that's going to be recon. Next is going to be the heist. The heist is going to be a high KP, and it's going to be an attempt to steal an item from another kingdom. Very risky, potentially difficult, but it could turn the tides of the entire campaign if done successfully. Also has a very big downside, which is if you fail, you are automatically caught by that kingdom. They know exactly who you are and what you tried to steal. In a lot of situations, that is going to start a war almost immediately or ostracize you in that kingdom. So you got to be careful. Another thing about espionage I wanted to talk about really quick is the idea of a rumor mill. This kind of came to me one day, and I was like, this would be a lot of fun. As the DM, every week, I'm going to upload 5 things about every kingdom. They're going to be rumors that the people have chattered about along the streets, or letters that are being sent back and forth. And a couple of them are going to be true, and a bunch of them are going to be false about your kingdom. But let's say that you have put a bunch of effort into military and you are arming up to go to war. One of the things in the rumor mill might say, oh, John's kingdom is armoring up to go to war, but right under that it could say, John's kingdom has decided to serve this god. One of them could be completely not true, the other could be true, and it could be this really fun thing of monitoring other kingdoms' rumor mills, right, and knowing what, and if you see something on there that really bothers you, maybe you send out an espionage recon to try to find out if that's true or not. Could be a really fun way, and it could be a way that the smarter players are going to get an edge up if they're really paying attention and engaged in this world. Counterintelligence is going to be the opposite of espionage. It is just simply your ability to monitor your social borders, make sure no information is getting out, make sure no spies are getting in. The first step of this process is going to be that every single turn you are going to roll a counterintelligence dice. Whether or not you put any KP into it, you're going to roll a dice. You're going to start off rolling a 1d20 plus your counterintelligence modifier for your kingdom. That is going to set the DC for any recon espionage roll another kingdom tries to get into your kingdom through. Now, where putting KP into counterintelligence helps is the more KP you put in, the more dice you are going to be able to roll to heighten that DC. So if, let's say, for example, you can kind of see it right here, hopefully, at 100 KP and above, it is going to be a 1d20 roll. After you've put in a total KP of 300, you are going to get an additional 2d20 roll to set that DC. So now you've got a better chance to get a higher DC and keep out any espionage rolls coming in. Again, it's important to state that you roll this counterintelligence every turn, whether or not an espionage recon roll is being made. You don't know. There are a couple of key things to keep in mind when both rolling your DC for this turn for your counterintelligence and an espionage roll coming in. Let's run a little example now. Let's say you set the DC at 18 with your 2d20, the highest you get is an 18. Okay, that's what the espionage roll has to break to see your information. Let's say John's kingdom rolls an espionage check and he fails. He gets a 15, does not hit the DC of 18. All you know as the kingdom rolling the counterintelligence is that a kingdom, a spy tried to get in. You don't know who it is, and you don't know anything about what they were trying to steal. Very simple. So now your spidey senses, or the hair on the back of your neck stand up and you go, someone's trying to find out something about me, but you don't know who. Not exactly. You don't know who unless two specific things happen. Number one, either you crit on your counterintelligence check or the espionage roller crit fails. In those two circumstances, you will be able to find out who it is and what they were after. The second scenario is if you put a low KP, and it's going to be a set KP, into what we're going to call counterinsurgency. So every turn you could roll your counterintelligence and spend, let's just call it 10 KP to activate your counterinsurgency. What this is going to do is A, it's going to give you an additional D20, and B, it is going to tell you who, if someone tries to roll an espionage, who they are and what they're trying to bring back. So it's a hit and miss, because if you spend the KP and no one rolls an espionage check on you, then you just lost the KP. Bummer. But if the person does and just gets a regular fail, then you are going to know who they are and what they're doing. Now, with this information, you now have the power to make a couple of decisions. Once you find out that it is John trying to get into your kingdom, you can go, okay, should I feed him false information and let his spy go back to his kingdom, unbeknownst to him that I know? Or do I just kill his spy and steal a little bit of KP, and he's going to be well aware that I know what he has done? Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense about counterintelligence. It's kind of a tough thing. I'm going to go into it in the workshops, and if you go to our Discord channel, I have a decent breakdown on there about what it is. It's going to be a really fun way to balance spying and pretty much risk whether or not it's worth always having your social borders strict, which is going to waste a lot of KP if no one actually tries to look into your kingdom. But on the flip side, if you don't spend any points into counterintelligence or counterinsurgency, people could be coming and going and taking information with them. All right, that is the wrap up on espionage and counterintelligence. I've got more deep dives coming of all of these types of policies. We're going to roll right through. Until the next time, roll on, gamers.